It's day 200 today. So yeah, 200 days exactly today since Mike took his life, my brother. I have a few lessons and a few thoughts. Some things that I really new in terms of things I was confused about over the last couple of weeks. So I'll start with the first one, which is I've mentioned on the last few videos that I've had a bit of a slump period. So that was around his birthday and around the exact 6-month mark. And it's funny because I mentioned last week about would you have a slump if you didn't know what day it was? I think that's probably true to a degree. Would you have one or not? I don't know. I only knew it was 200 days because I just looked at it. It's not the type of thing that you really know unless you actually count them, or in my case, just Googled it and said how many days ago was the 30th of September, 2025. So, you'd say 200 days would be a significant date, but if you're not really aware of it, is it as significant as 6 months? So, but the clarity I've got now, which is a silver lining, is this week I've had a cold. And to be honest, doing this right now, like last week, I was so close not to doing it. Really didn't want to do this today. I come down into this room and I set up like 2 lights, 2 tripods, and like it takes a bit of time to set up. It's not like it's already set up already and I just sit down and go. It takes me, I have to leave my place, come down to another room, set things up, make sure everything's working, and then click record. So there's a bit of, you could call it friction in between, rather than just being a ready to go thing. And I was close not to doing it because I just feel sick. But I forced myself to. But the silver lining is, I've mentioned a few times now, will I, for the rest of my life, if I have a dip or feel sick, am I going to blame it on grief or label it as that's a grief dip? Now, I know this week is not that. So I have clarity now, thankfully, as to when I'm feeling sick and as to when it's a grief thing hitting me with low energy and low mood and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, this week's been, just tough because I've been like not feeling well at all, like cold. Yeah, just struggling from that sense. But it hasn't been struggling from the grief part, which is good. So I feel like that's a good thing for me, is like, okay, now, thankfully, I've been sick and I've had the feeling of the dips from grief and I can tell the difference now. So this is me trying to put a positive spin on having a hard, probably month of these 2 things. Like, I've got clarity, full clarity now on when I'm feeling sick and when I'm not, and it's just the issues around the grief stuff. So I do have that. That's a positive, which I'm happy with. I'm trying to put a positive spin on not feeling good. So anyway, there's that. So how do I know the difference? That might be useful for you. It's hard to pinpoint how I feel a difference. I think it's just, I don't know, I was trying to think if I could explain how I can tell a difference. I'm more bunged up, voice gone a bit, but I just know. I can't explain it. You'll know you'll know the difference when you get sick or when you don't. But I was confused a few weeks ago, and this is something like a few weeks on I have clarity over, so I'm grateful for that. I've had some thoughts this week as well. So it is day 200, and of course we talk about significant dates. It's not a date really that you have in your mind. It's normally like the birthday, the 6-month mark, the 12-month mark, the first Christmas, etc. But the way I'm doing it with this is I'm keeping track of the days, because I'm doing this as like a real-time record in a way for how I'm progressing with it, and the experiences and lessons I'm having for me, but also for you as well. And like being able to track these lessons, like I know when I feel sick and when I don't, is really useful. And one of the thoughts I had this week was about comfort zone. I've mentioned before on previous videos and stuff about having a level of comfort, like your comfort zone, and to expand your circle of comfort. If you imagine it like a circle, you should do things that sit slightly outside of your comfort zone, and then your comfort zone expands a little bit, and then you do something slightly outside and expands a bit. Whereas if you do something that sits well outside of your comfort zone, that's where it gets overwhelming, becomes too much, and you probably will stop doing that thing, or you just won't do it at all because it's just too far out your comfort zone. So a good example for me personally is I moved to Sydney in Australia like 8 years ago. But before that, I'd moved from my hometown on the Wirral in Merseyside to London. So I did an internal city to city move for 6 years, 7 years. And then I feel because I did that, I then had my comfort zone of moving cities had been expanded a bit. Therefore, me moving to Australia was not as big of a deal. It was my comfort zone had been expanded. Versus if I just moved straight to Australia, it might have been too much for me at that time. And so much so, when I moved back to the UK, now in Manchester, it felt like nothing, me moving back, moving countries or cities again to a new city, because I've just done it a few times already, that my comfort zone's just been slowly but surely expanded out. The reason why I'm talking about this is because I was thinking about it yesterday, about this analogy of expanding your comfort zone slightly. And it made me think about how it is when it comes to something like this loss of losing your brother to suicide. And it made me think in a way that when I mentioned before, your comfort zone should be expanded little by little. And then if you go too far, it's overwhelming and can cause issues because you're pushing yourself too far. It made me think about the news and the impact it has on your life, like a loss as significant as that, as out of the blue as that, completely obliterates your day-to-day comfort zone for life. It obliterates just your reality. So why I thought about that was because when I'm thinking about my comfort zone, suddenly it made me think about, well, in the first few weeks, even now to a degree as well, like 6 months in, 200 days in, your comfort zone for certain things which are normally you take for granted suddenly contracts in massively. So the first few days or the first few weeks, I was avoiding my local coffee shop, for example, where I would have chats, or do have chats all the time with them, and I get on with the people who work there and stuff. And I was avoiding these surface level conversations with people around maybe the building that I live in, or just people coming across day to day. I didn't want to have conversations. Now I'm not at that stage now, but it made me think about why did I suddenly go like that when I actually really enjoy doing these things. And I thought maybe it could be something to do with when your comfort zone or your version of reality has been completely changed so much that you're in that overwhelmed state. So therefore it's got to balance out somewhere else, hasn't it? It's like the yin and yang thing. Like one area of your life is fully like changed and completely just twisted on its head. So therefore, there's got to be a bit of give and take. So therefore, some of the day-to-day things come in whilst you having to deal with this level of, if we go through the circle of comfort, it's just well out. So that's what I thought about. I might be completely speaking nonsense there, but I did think about it yesterday. Of course, I did the session last week with Richard, the therapist. So I've been editing that. I've split it into two because it's a 2-hour session. When I say edit, I'm not cutting bits out. I'm just camera switches and making sure it cuts halfway and that type of stuff. But I'm going to ask him, because we're going to do another session as well. We're going to probably do maybe a few quite regular ones, and I'm going to ask him about that and what he thinks, because I'm not here giving advice or any expert opinion or anything, because I'm not. But it's just thoughts that I have, and I just say it because I'm like, maybe that makes sense. Share it, and maybe if you're watching and it hits home with you, and you go, "Oh, actually, yeah, I feel like that," then it might help you. But yeah, of course, like, feel free to just let me know if you ever disagree with what I say or agree, whatever. Like, everyone has their own experiences in life, don't they? So no opinion or experience is wrong, is it? That's just mine, and sharing it, because I'm assuming as a human being, I can't be the only one who feels like that sometimes. So that's what I thought. So yeah, I was surprised as well, because I was surprised it actually took me 6 months to come up with that thought as well. Thought I was a bit quicker than that, but clearly not. So yeah, today I'm a bit more low energy, just because I just feel like, yeah, I'm about to sneeze actually, I think. I just feel a bit sick. And so yeah, today's been, this is discipline in action for me. I'm quite proud of myself for doing this, because I shouldn't be, I don't think. I'm going to be basically straight watching the football after this all day today, Saturday today. And I'm basically just going to be just trying to look after myself. Having said that, I've been eating some sweets the last few days, just trying to at least have some positive stuff in my life. So I've got my phone out here because I've got something, as usual, like, I go through the week and just sort of essentially write down or dictate thoughts. So the comfort zone getting smaller. There's a few things I've mentioned a couple of times now. I do quite a bit of reading. I'm reading a book at the moment called The Tools. It's by Stutz, Phil Stutz. He did a documentary with Jonah Hill, which is really good, by the way. So it made me get the book on the back of it. So it's called The Tools, and I've been reading the book on that. And there was something I wrote down in it, which was, it was about comfort zone, actually. Yeah, that's why. I think that might have triggered the comfort zone thought. It was about comfort zone, and I'm not that far in. I'm on the first tool. And it was essentially just talking about looking at pain and wanting to bring it in. Almost seeing pain as something that you want, because past that is the expanded comfort zone. I'll see if I can find, like, the image. I took a photo of the image from the book. There's drawings in it which are good, but it talks about, yeah, just trying to see what perceived pain there is if you were to maybe go for something, or you had an ambition or a goal or something that you're just putting off or not doing because you're fearful of whatever it is. Maybe in this case, me doing this, I'll be fearful of putting myself out online on YouTube, mates seeing it and taking the piss, whatever. It's almost a case of going, okay, that's the fear and that's the pain that you've got to embrace, accept, and then try and foresee how that would be and live in it in the moment before you do the thing. I just thought it was an interesting way of thinking about it. I I won't explain it. I'll just probably point to a video that explains it better. But that's something that I thought about, because why would you watch me talk about it when you could just go to the source? What else is there? There was another thing. Okay. The other one, there's two others actually, which I thought about. Sounds corny. I say the word corny quite a bit, don't I? Sounds corny, but the world's a mirror. I thought about it last week. I went for a coffee and was chatting to one of the guys who works at the coffee shop, and had just like a really good conversation, just really good, great start to the morning. And I remember just walking back, and I was just like, how good's that? Like, and it just made me feel like, because that's the coffee shop that's given me like a few free coffees a few times. And sometimes you just be like, yeah, the world feels like if you put good out, you get it back. And the thing is, today, for example, the reason why I thought about it to mention then is I went to the same coffee shop this morning, and I'm in this like sick, low energy mood. And I notice it, like, even though I know this is a temporary feeling of feeling sick, and therefore low energy, and obviously I'm not putting out really positive, uplifting, high energy vibes. I just feel it back. So I'm sort of trying to be as observant as I can with that, because I can remember last week when I was feeling brilliant, I was like, oh, getting these, it was like this fulfilling loop. And today, I'm not saying like it was in any way negative or anything. The chat that I had wasn't as vibrant, I suppose. And that's because I wasn't bringing my part to the table of it. And therefore, yeah, I just thought it's a really good way of thinking that. Now, obviously, there's things outside of your control, isn't there? I can't control me being sick or not. So it's not something you can just switch on and off. It's just an observation. That's all. But I think if you can, as much as you possibly can, is to be conscious of that and try and do that little extra bit of bringing some positivity to interactions. I think, in my view, you get it back. And then on that sort of similar one, there is what you're training your mind to do. So what did I write down here? I didn't come up with this analogy. It was something I've read the other day, which was about feeling like something like, for example, this is what I've written down. It must have been from a YouTube video or something, which is, I'm not giving advice here. I'm just saying this is what I wrote down because it was from a video, which was stop asking, why do I feel like this? And start asking, what am I training my mind to do? And I thought that was an interesting one, because that suddenly flips it to, you're not the person, or you're not the receiver of things that's outside of your control. You're taking a bit of your power back, if you want to call it that, to determine, why am I feeling, let's say, not that good? Okay, but what's then maybe influencing it? What type of things am I consuming? Whether that's dietary, or whether that's media-based, whether that's doom scrolling, that type of thing. And then it comes then to what I said before around, what are you training your mind for? So the way I see it, if I go to the gym regularly, I'm going to get a positive output result from training hard and regularly and eating well. That would be a given, wouldn't it? There's no doubt there. So therefore, if you look at it from the perspective of what you do in terms of training your mind, then it makes sense that that same thing is the same. If you eat junk food and don't train, you're not going to be in as good a position or good shape, are you, than if you eat really well and train. Now, everyone else is in different situations, aren't they? Of course. I'm just saying it from my personal situation. So that's something that made me think, actually, well, yeah, I need to probably do a bit more reading. Need to make sure I be a bit more conscious of not going on my phone. So I'm making sure little by little, I'm having my phone in the other room, for example, rather than right next to me all the time. I'm on it now, I've got it right here. But I'm just trying like little tiny things, like instead of just going on my phone straight away, it's like I'll put it in the other room and it's not right there. And what am I training my mind for? I'm training it to try and, take in as much positive, useful stuff as possible, and hopefully get a good output from that. Although having said that, because I'm ill this week, it does feel like just give me a break. Like I'm doing everything, and still, as soon as I felt great last Saturday, when I recorded last Saturday, and then got sick, I'm just like, oh man, like I need a break after this. As soon as I'm better after this, I better be brilliant for ages, because I'm putting in the effort for it. I think that might be it. There was something else that I wrote down. I know I did. Let me just double check. Maybe I cut this bit. But I'm just going to check. I watched a great podcast. I knew it was something. I watched a great podcast. It was the Mel Robbins and Seth Godin podcast. Seth Godin, if you don't know, is sort of known as probably the one of the most famous marketers, if not the most famous marketers in the world. I think he's got like ridiculous amount of best-selling marketing books and things. He did like book like Purple Cow and Remarkable and stuff. He's phenomenal. But he did a podcast with Mel Robbins, and I wrote one thing down. I wrote multiple things down, but one in particular hit me, and it just goes back into the training your mind thing. He said, he said this: if you look around your life right now, is there anything you could do to make it worse? And the answer, he said, is basically always yes. If you think about it, about your life, is there anything you could do to make it worse? Yeah. And he said, by that measure, if I can make it worse, I can also make it better. And I was like, that for me, that was like that line there. I was like, that's brilliant, that, isn't it? Like, what a great way to sort of think, because I've never thought about that. Like, could I make my life worse? Of course you could. So therefore, the opposite's true, isn't it? I just thought that was a brilliant way of framing it. And when you hear some certain lines and it just sticks with you, and that for me, I was just like, I'm taking that. So yeah, and I've just added another point there, saying the standard wouldn't be perfect. It's just, is there anything I can do to make it better than it is now? So that goes back to my point at the beginning around the circle of comfort, expanding that out slightly each time. Is there something I can do to make my situation, or whatever it is, slightly better? Okay, I'll do that. And it doesn't have to be huge, because as I mentioned at the start, when you have this thing happen to you, in my instance, losing my brother to suicide, your version of reality is flipped and changed, and all your different levels of comfort and circles of comfort change. So then it forces you to then go, okay, how can I make my life better each time, little by little, step by step? And that quote for me really hit home. So that's been 25, 26 minutes. Now, I don't know how good this is today, because as I said, I'm not feeling good. So this could be more nonsense than usual, and I could have made zero sense. Hopefully I've made some sense, but if not, I'm posting it anyway. I reckon I've made some sense. I had some notes there to help me. As usual, if you're going through a hard time or struggling or whatever position you're in right now, I hope you're doing all right. Hope you're doing all right. See, I can't even speak. Hope you're doing okay. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.